Hey everyone, it's Sonia here to give you an update on the peasant rebellion that is overthrowing the New World Order here in Canada. So today I wanted to talk a bit about what happened to the vax tax. They gave it the axe. Yes, they gave the vax tax the axe. I'm going to tell you what happened. Also, a little bit about, hey, some things seem to be changing. Couldn't happen to have anything to do with the convoy, could it? Nah. Also, if I have time, I want to maybe just enjoy a short clip from a parliamentary session, which happened the other day, which honestly was better viewing than Netflix. Definitely way more interesting, a lot more entertaining. So before I start, I just want to say thanks for liking the video and thank you for your support on Patreon. That keeps my channel going. Also, I do still have the pouches, the purifier pouches. These eliminate odors by removing viruses, bacteria, fungus, and mold. And one of my favorite uses for these is in my car. Having a smelly car makes a bad impression, right? But you can make a good impression just by putting one of these in your car and leaving it overnight. I do also have the water purification tabs as well. In case you're interested, one of these purifies 10 gallons of water. So I'm going to leave you a link below. And if you use the link, you get 15% off and no shipping and handling, even if you live in Canada. All right, so let's start with the vax tax. Do you remember a little while ago, I mentioned that Éric Duhem, the leader of the Quebec Conservative Party, said that he thought that Legault was bluffing about it. He said basically it had no teeth and he wouldn't be able to do it. He was just trying to scare you like he did with the vaccine mandates for the healthcare workers. They said they finally disclosed the amount that they were going to tax people or, charge people. Is it a tax? Is it a fine? We don't really know. But they decided it was going to be $100 to $800 depending on how much money you make. And this was disclosed to us on the 29th of January. Seeing as a couple days later, they still hadn't made any moves on this, people were wondering, like, what's going on, guys? Are you going to tax the unvaxxed or not? And our health minister, Christian Dubé, said it wasn't a priority. He said the tax wasn't a priority. What was a priority was getting people vaccinated. The next day, we found out why it wasn't a priority. It was being dropped. Quebec Premier drops plan to tax people who are unvaccinated. While the Premier said the bill drawn up by the Finance Minister was ready to be tabled, he admitted the project was divisive and polarizing. No. Yes, very divisive and polarizing. That's what it had been from the beginning, along with all these other measures they've put in place here in Quebec. I'm surprised they actually went so far as to admit that. It's time to rebuild bridges between Quebecers, he said in French. It's time to work together so that Quebec remains a place where it is good to live. My role is to try and bring Quebecers together and stay united as a people. All of a sudden now, Monsieur Legault is trying to be Mr. Nice Guy. I wonder what happened. Saint-Cyboire, c'est les truckers. Away, Rambo! Hostile anti-vax. All of a sudden, he's trying to be nice. That's weird. Just a couple weeks ago, he kept talking about tightening the screws and bringing down the hammer. And now he's talking about wanting to reach out a hand to the unvaccinated, just to encourage them. Come and get their dose. We're going to do it nicely now. Well, something happened. Well, Vincent Marissal, the spokesperson for the second opposition group, he dropped quite the bomb when asked about why François Legault suddenly axed the vax tax.
Ministre Legault a cédé sous la menace, en reculant la menace des manifestations, la menace de ce qu'on pourrait appeler une certaine radicalisation de la population, là, pour reculer. I'm sorry, I have to pause the video. Did you hear what he said? He backed off in the face of this protest and a certain radicalization of the population. Really? We're going there already? Justement pour expliquer son recul sur la taxe santé. Est-ce qu'à votre avis, il a cédé sous la menace?
So he's asking him, did he back off under the threat of what's happening?
Puis le fait est qu'il n'y avait aucun appui dans le réseau de la santé puis chez les juristes pour faire une affaire de même. Alors, s'il a reculé devant quoi que ce soit, l'idée, c'est qu'on ne s'excuse pas, on fait attention. Il est premier ministre, M. Legault. Il ne peut pas lancer des idées en l'air de même sans avoir une base juridique, politique et sociale pour ensuite nous dire après, moi, je suis un bon père de famille, je suis très, très responsable. Mais non, c'était vraiment pas responsable de lancer cette idée-là.
Like when he really had nothing to stand on, no legal backing, and he just threw this out there. So it seemed like it was doomed from the start. So, I mean, maybe Éric Duhem was right that it really was just a bluff. Or maybe he really did back off because of what's happening right now. And on that note, in case you haven't heard, they're now launching a convoy to Quebec City. There's some concern about this. I mean, besides the fact that, you know, we're on the brink of revolution. There's also concern about where are these trucks even going to be, because Quebec, it's not like Ottawa. It's got very, very narrow streets. And the protest starts this weekend, just as Quebec City is hosting their winter carnival. I wonder if they're going to do like the Belgians did at the Christmas market. And these truckers who are heading up, Dominique Anglade, the leader of the Quebec Liberal Party, is telling them, she was telling Rambo, they got names like Rambo and Big. They're big, tough guys. They're like lumberjacks, you know, big, badass guys, right? She was telling Rambo to stay home. But I don't think he's going to do it. I'm pretty sure he's going to go to Quebec. These guys like Rambo and Big, who are leading this convoy, have a lot of support. And lately, the support is starting to come also from the construction industry. They're against this as much as the truckers are. And they're mobilizing. They actually are probably going to be also driving up, at least some of them. And they might be going on an unlimited strike. I mean, at this point, I haven't seen anything concrete that this is going to happen. But this was just something that was proposed by a member of that sector. Was like, let's do an unlimited strike. There's 120,000 construction workers of different kinds here in Quebec. Imagine if they all went on strike. I think that would be like really striking the sore spot of our government here, because we have a lot of corruption, and a lot of organized crime money is laundered through the construction industry. That's why our roads are so bad, because they do it, but they do it badly, so they're going to be able to do it again the next year and launder some more money. And then the politicians that give them these contracts, they get kickbacks. So if the construction workers go on strike, it's going to hurt the organized crime. The organized crime community, shall we say. This is going to hurt the mafia, and it's going to hurt our politicians. It might hit them right in the wallet. I think that could be really catastrophic for them. How are they going to launder all their money if the construction workers go on strike? They're going to have to really think about that one. So we've got the truckers and the construction workers. And from what I hear, as the weather warms up, the biker gangs are planning to join in as reinforcements. Maybe that has something to do with why François Legault is suddenly changing his tone. Anyhow, so have these protests or uprising, I mean, it is really more like a siege than a regular protest, right? Let's be honest. They put Ottawa under siege, and they're planning to put Quebec under siege. I mean, look, I'm trying to stay neutral here, but it's kind of hard to contain my glee. To contain my glee at the thought that something might actually put a dent in François Legault's regime. I mean, I think Legault, you know, he's sweating a little now. So has this had any effect in Canada? I think so. Maybe. Or maybe it's just a coincidence. Coincidence theory. Saskatchewan Premier plans to scrap proof of vaccination requirements by the end of February. It is time for us as a government to do what Saskatchewan people are asking for. Really, after 2 years, you're going to start actually listening to what people want? It's a miracle. Alberta has also announced that they're planning to remove the vaccine passport. And Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Kieran Moore, says that Ontario needs to reassess the value of the COVID-19 vaccine passport system, given that 2 doses doesn't do much to limit the spread of transmission. Also, Erin O'Toole is out, and he's being replaced by Candice Bergen, a member of parliament from Portage Lisgar, Manitoba. They say, O'Toole wasn't a strong enough leader. He was too much of a centrist. Now, I really want to share this with you because, seriously, I enjoyed it so much. I could not believe how entertaining this was. In a deranged kind of way. But, if it hadn't been for the fact that there was a convoy happening outside, I might have found it just really disturbing. But I'm feeling hopeful, I guess, because of the convoy. Okay, I'm going to watch this little clip with you because you have got to see, honestly, how deranged Justin Trudeau seems.
But Canadians...
I watched this. It's Aaron O'Toole confronting Justin Trudeau on how he's handling this whole crisis and being totally inflexible. And I'm starting to wonder if, Justin Trudeau's brain has been replaced by, I don't know, a zombie ants, or maybe he's got one of those Elon Musk chips in there. Or he's under hypnosis, or somebody's whispering black magic in his ear. But there's something wrong with the man. Okay, so here's a clip.
Oral questions. Question orale, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to begin by sending best wishes to the Prime Minister and his children that are dealing with COVID-19. As a family that had COVID in the home, I wish them a speedy recovery. Canadian manufacturers, the Federation of Independent Business, the Chamber of Commerce, the Conservative Opposition, thousands of truckers for over a month have proposed solutions to the trucking shortage in Canada and the supply chain crisis, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister has ignored this crisis, and even worse, he calls names for people that are raising these very issues. So, Mr. Speaker, my question is simple. Will the Prime Minister move past the division and agree to meet with some of the truckers impacted by his federal regulations?
Okay. So he's asking him to talk to them, maybe be a little flexible and work something out. Now watch what Justin Trudeau says. It was really a very specific question. Are you going to meet with them? Are you going to work something out, right? Listen to this crazy answer.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the science is very clear. The best way through this pandemic is to get people vaccinated. That's how we end the disruptions to our supply chains caused by this global pandemic. That's how we get back to the things we love to do.
Okay, wait, excuse me. 90% of people are vaccinated. Does it look like we're getting back to the things we love to do? Last time I checked, we were just in another lockdown.
That's why we've been unequivocal on the need to get vaccinated, and great news, Canadians across the country stepped up. Almost 90% of Canadians are vaccinated, including almost 90% of truckers, because we know that the biggest disruption to our supply chains happens when people catch COVID.
That's not why 90% are vaccinated. It's because probably about 30% of those people were absolutely forced into it with all these mandates and restrictions. And let's not forget that even with 98% of the healthcare staff in Quebec vaccinated, we still had 20,000 healthcare workers out with COVID at one time during this last wave. So I'm not really sure how that's going to guarantee that you won't have interruptions in the supply chain because of people being out with COVID, because it looks to me like, it still happens.
That's why vaccinations are the way through it, and we're going to continue to be unequivocal about that.
Unbelievable. Really, he didn't even answer the question whether he'd be willing to meet with them. It's just no, there's no discussion. This is what we do. We don't care what the people of Canada want. We don't want to listen to anything else. We've decided what the answer is, what the science is, and that's what you get. Really.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, when you ignore and divide a country when it needs to be united, that's not leadership, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister knows that the voices of a few don't represent the millions of Canadians who are worried. Millions of Canadians over 2 years have seen their lives upended, their children's mental health impacted, businesses fail, Mr. Speaker. The nation being stretched in our social fabric. Vaccines are critically important, but as the Prime Minister's own COVID diagnosis demonstrates after 3 vaccinations, we have to use all tools, Mr. Speaker, to get our life back to normal. When is life getting back to normal, Mr. Speaker?
Good question. When is life getting back to normal? And can you believe this ridiculous irony? Justin Trudeau telling people that everybody needs to get vaccinated so that you don't have people out with COVID, while he himself, triple vaccinated, is out with COVID. I mean, really, it's like being in the Twilight Zone. But listen to this answer.
Honorable Prime Minister.
I know, and all Canadians know, how frustrating it is to have to deal with this pandemic for now 2 years and ongoing. But Canadians also have never been so united in stepping up. Almost not.
Yes, stepping up to show up with trucks.
Almost 90% of Canadians have been vaccinated.
Yeah, because you forced them.
And that means they are protecting our frontline health workers. They are making sure that we're getting through this as best we possibly can. It is that unity of Canadians, that nature that we have of being there for each other that has been on such display through this pandemic. Yes, there are people who are still hesitant, and yes, there are people.
Leader of the opposition.
I mean, really? That's scary. Wow. It's like trying to go through a wall. The guy's a wall. He's not talking like a normal person. It's like a robot that just keeps repeating 90%, 90%. This isn't normal. Usually when they have discussions in Parliament, they actually discuss. You don't have one party trying to discuss, asking the other person questions, and that person responding with really just pat answers and refusing to answer the question. I mean, he did say no indirectly, but he did it by repeating basically what all Canadians have been exposed to on the TV, the radio, and the internet for at least the last year. It wasn't a real discussion. It was just like Trudeau was just trying to shut him down. But people aren't accepting that anymore. But it seems like already some pretty big changes have happened. The vax tax is axed. Saskatchewan is axing their vaccination passport. Erin O'Toole has been replaced with Candice Bergen. And they have been confronting the Prime Minister in the Parliament. And, oh yes, and of course we're having the convoy to Quebec. So that's the update for now. I hope you found that interesting. Thanks again for liking the video and for your support on Patreon. And don't forget to check out the link for the pouches that make everything smell nice and clean. And thanks for joining me in the chat. And thanks for listening to me. And I'll see you next time.